Good afternoon, good day to you. This is the Lock Doc coming through to you. Today we are going to be talking about mortise locks, specifically Sargent 7800 or Sargent 8200. The lock in front of us today is a 7800, which is the knob, and the 82 is the lever. Specifically, this is the 55 function or an entry function. Well, this is what I keep saying. If it's ever came up before, this is called the armor front. It just pretty much protects the front of the lock. Gives it that nice clean look. Finish changes depending on the finish. Nothing really special there to talk about besides all the different cutouts in it. This one's for the latch bolt, this one's for the auxiliary dead latch, that's for the toggle, and of course those are for the mounting holes. Okay, so opened up inside, we have this beautiful lock body here. Now this one's, I believe, from, it's easily about 10 years old. It's been sitting on the shelf for a while. But what's cool about this is it illustrates some of the easier things to understand about these locks. I know sometimes when you open them up, there's parts and pieces everywhere, and there's always a good people always talk about when they open them up, they spring and blow apart. They are actually pretty straightforward. You just have to understand the functions of the mortise lock body. For example, this right here, this is the latch. Down here's the toggle. The toggle is controlled by this rocker arm right here. It actually is what engages this piece down here. So when you're locking your lock on the office function, all you're doing is just sliding this into this notch, into this hub here. As you can see, if you take it all apart here, this piece can actually move. If I can get all them out. You can typically flip this piece around right here. There we go, just like that. And that's how you change the lock side of the lock from the unlock side of the lock. But yeah, and the reason why is that simply this piece does not engage into the notch in the hub. Just like that. So when it's in the lock position, which it is, this would now become the unlock side of the lock. Another thing I should mention too is I said this was for a knob. If you look down here in this corner here, see if I can do a zoom in, but you can see there's a little spring right there. That spring is specific for knobs. The spring, what it looks like for a lever, looks like that coil spring right there. Anyways, that's because with levers you carry the weight out farther on the handle, so it needs a stronger spring in order to retract it back. So that being said, typically what always goes wrong with these, if there is ever anything that goes wrong, usually relates to the latch bolt because somebody had to cut it because, I don't know, they forgot a key or something. But that seems to be one of the more important things that ever goes wrong with them. This piece, I haven't really heard too many complaints about it breaking. Fairly simple design, just a threaded screw. This piece holds it in place. This is what retains your cylinder in the same position, so it holds the same pivot point. So there's that. If you wanted to change the handing on this, I believe this is the new style, so you actually, you actually don't even have to take this all apart. You can generally take a flathead screwdriver, put it right in here, and kind of pry the bolt out. So if I do this, let me zoom out here. Might make it a little bit easier. But typically you can just pry out like that, get it to a certain point, and then just flip it around. So that's one of the nice things about Sargents. I know Corbin Russwin has a design very similar to it. I'm assuming Schlage and Yale and all of them do as well. It's kind of a standard within the mortise lock world. So anyways, here we go. just start taking it apart. We'll put it all back together. When you're taking these things apart, it's good to kind of keep them loosely in the way you pull them out of the lock. It just makes it that much easier on yourself afterwards. See if I can get that piece out of there. Oh, one thing to mention too, when you're ever putting these lock cases back together, this spring is usually a culprit as to why the faceplate's kind of wobbly. So I've always had to come through here with, like some sort of pokey tool, whether it be paper clip or an awl or, piece of spring steel, whatever you may have on your bench. Here we go. This is kind of interesting. This is the dead latch feature. It's kind of funny how this just intricately balances right there, but it works so when this is pushed down, obviously you got the case on it, it pushes this piece down, which prevents this from going down or being pushed in. So that's a cool little feature on these. In order to change that out, you got to disconnect the spring right here, and that piece comes out. Change the latch bolt, just do that. This piece is fun. I know once you take all this apart, the spring naturally, what you don't see is there's a brass collar underneath here, and that brass collar goes over this piece right there, and that's what's sliding in and out and allows the spring all to be within this one line of motion. So let's try and take that out. But there's that brass sleeve I was talking about. Pieces in there. And that piece is being stubborn, but we'll just leave that one in there. So anyways, when it's reduced down, this is what the office function looks like. If you want to replace the lever return spring, it's just this little thing right here. I guess that thing could probably come loose after a million uses. I could see that happening. So anyways, let me put this all back together. Thank you very much.